Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be working on the OBS K2500 Suburban, specifically the exhaust. We're going to make it sound a little louder and a little more aggressive, just like a big block should. My name's LT, and on this channel we build custom and high performance trucks. So if you like that kind of content, you definitely need to subscribe. Now, we do have a goal to reach 30,000 subscribers by the end of 2020, and we've got just under a month left to make that happen. So I know we can do it, but I just need your help. So like I said, if you like this channel, help me out, hit subscribe. So before we get to work today, I've got to get the ugly truck out of the shop and the Suburban back on in. Believe it or not, I actually didn't even own a Sawzall before today. I'm going to be chopping off the old muffler on this truck. And if you're doing that kind of work, really, a Sawzall is the only way to go. So I bit the bullet. You know, tools are always a good investment. So it's money well spent, and I'll definitely use it on other parts of this project. But we'll get to that later on. The project for today is swapping out the muffler. The previous owner told me that the stock one had rusted out a little while ago. And right now this one actually has a Magnaflow dual in single out muffler, and it's pretty massive. And when you combine that with the catalytic converters that are still on the truck, well, you can hardly hear the exhaust at all. Yeah, it is a little bit more aggressive than say a 100% bone stock truck, but just barely. You'll probably never notice it. I like louder exhaust. I don't like it too obnoxious and too ridiculously loud, but I like to be able to hear the truck. Now, the last couple ones that I've had Magnaflows, I've had a couple of Flowmasters, but right now, you know, ugly truck, that's going to be turbocharged, and the AT4, well, that's a L5P and it's 100% stock, so I can't hear the engine at all. So I kind of got an itch for something that's a little bit, you know, more rowdy and a little more aggressive. So let me show you what I chose. We've got a table full of parts, but most of these are going to be for the ugly truck and for the turbo build, and I've showed you, some of that stuff. But today, the exhaust build is going to revolve around this guy right here. This is a Spintech 9000 Super Pro Street muffler, and it's the most aggressive one that they make, which means it'll be the loudest. It's got a pretty compact body. It has a 9-inch length and a 4x6 rectangular profile, and this particular one has a 3-inch single in and out. This is very similar to like a Flowmaster Super 10 or a Black Widow. I don't know which one of theirs, maybe the Neighbor Hater or whatever. But instead of a triangle baffle like the Flowmaster uses, you can kind of see on the outside here, they've got these little spiral plates welded on the inside, and it gives it a very unique sound. It's going to be similar to other chambered mufflers, but it's going to be just different enough. I've heard these on a lot of different trucks, and I really like how they sound, especially when you get a big gnarly cam in the engine. Now, even though this is the most aggressive muffler that they make, it's not going to be ridiculously loud on this truck, mainly because I'm not going to touch the catalytic converters. In fact, the only thing I really am changing is I'm just swapping out the muffler, and that's going to make it sound, like I said, more aggressive but not too obnoxious. Now, long term for this truck, in the future, I am going to be doing a complete exhaust build. That's one of my favorite things to do. I really love doing exhaust. And when I get into the motor, I'll put, maybe different cylinder heads, different camshafts, stuff like that. I'll definitely do long tube headers, dual 3-inch all the way to the back, high flow cats. And then I'll probably pick up another Spintech muffler so I can run them in tandem. But anyway, that's a ways down the road. To get it to fit right now, I need some sort of a Y pipe, because these big block trucks of this year, they have dual, I believe, 2 3/4 exhaust into the muffler. Then they have a single tailpipe, which I think is also 2 3/4. I'll double check the measurements later. But anyway, to merge the two into one, I needed some sort of a Y pipe. So Amazon to the rescue once again. This, I believe the brand is called U-Power. Yep, right there. I think this only cost me like 30 bucks. I'll put the link down at the bottom of the page. But it looks like it's made from pretty good stuff. It's stainless steel. It looks like it's even been TIG welded. So for the price, I was really happy with my purchase there. So basically, I'll run this kind of like that, 2 into 1, into the single pipe there, and I'll connect that down to the tailpipe so the exhaust can route out the back. So very first job is to chop off the old muffler. When I'm cutting out the muffler, I'm leaving the weld seam on the muffler side, so I don't have that to deal with when I'm welding it and fitting everything back up. There's just 3 cuts to make, and the Sawzall makes quick work of it. Side by side, you can tell there's a pretty significant difference in terms of size of these two systems. Now, the reason why I cut off some extra material from, well, both ends of this Y pipe is, number one, just to allow me to slide the muffler as far back as possible. And number two, that's to help make up the difference in width between these two pipes and these two pipes here. It's off by about 1.75 inches. The new system is obviously a little bit narrower. And the best way to make that up might be to take 2 mandrel bends per side and make like a little jog over. But all I'm gonna do is just take 2 short, straight sections of pipe and cut them at a little bit of an angle. You know, normally that's kind of a no-no, but I'm gonna cheat this time, and that's an easy way to make up the difference. I could go grab the TIG welder on this one and make a really, really nice looking setup here, but the rest of the system on the truck, it doesn't really justify TIG welding, especially considering the muffler is made from aluminized steel, and the rest of the stock system is, or what's left of the stock system rather, in fact, a lot of it's aftermarket. Some muffler shop just kind of hacked it together. So again, it's really not worth, you know, going to the extra expense of putting some mandrel bends in there and TIG welding. So this one's gonna get MIG welded together, and that's where we'll start. I'm using my transmission jack to hold the muffler in place while I get everything fit up. And once I have my measurement, I'll make a cut on the chop saw with about a 5-degree angle to make up the slight bend that I need. Once I'm happy with the fit up of the first piece, I'll tack it in place. And then measure and cut the second. I'll get the 2 extensions welded onto the Y pipe over at the table, and then put the system back underneath the truck and fully weld it. The other great thing about using a MIG welder on a system like this is how much time it's going to save you. If I wanted to fully TIG weld this exhaust system right here that I'm doing, just from the muffler back, it would probably take me the better part of the day to do the entire job. Cut out the old muffler, weld in the new pipes, TIG weld it, or TIG tack it underneath the truck, and then TIG weld it out on the bench so you have access to everything, and then put the whole system back underneath the truck. And then not only that, you're gonna have to deal with things like the potential for breaking off the fasteners where the catback joins onto the rest of the system. So by using a MIG welder, it definitely saves a lot of time, and it's gonna be just as solid as it is if I would have welded it with the TIG welder. Yeah, it might not look as nice and have those nice pretty colors on it, but remember, I'm welding to rusty metal for the front half of the system. I'm welding to an old tailpipe on the back half, so it just doesn't warrant it. Now, there's one thing I wanted to show you real quick. When I'm welding underneath the truck like this to do a system, you obviously have to get your head into some pretty tight places, you know, between the floor and the drive shaft and the exhaust and all that good stuff. And a lot of times your welding helmet just won't let you get your head where you want it to go. But one thing I figured out is if you take the headband or the strap out of the helmet, you can just kind of hold it with one hand, and you can, you know, turn it sideways. You can put it in all kind of different places. You can even put the helmet kind of up underneath the truck first and then slip your head up in. And it makes it a lot easier to see and to weld those tops of the pipes. Those are pretty hard to get to. So the very last thing that I did is I chopped off the end of the tailpipe just because I wasn't kind of crazy about how it looked. It stuck out about another 3.5 inches. It still kind of looks factory, and that's the other good thing about the system is when you look under the truck, unless you actually put your head under there, you can't see anything And that's what I like. It kind of has a sleeper look. But when you start it up and you hear it, well, you'll know it's got a big block under the hood. Okay, so first things first, I actually did let the truck warm all the way up before we're about to do this. So first impressions of the Spintech 9000 Pro Street. From the inside of the truck, it's really not that bad. It sounds more aggressive, it sounds a little louder, but there's no drone, and it's at a nice comfortable volume level, so you know, you could load up the family, load up the kids, you could drive in this thing pretty much all day long and you're not going to get a headache. Now granted, this truck still does have the catalytic converters in place and they remove a lot of noise, so if I had this truck with no cats on it, it might not be the same story. But I have heard and have read that these Spintechs, they don't drone like a lot of other mufflers do. So I think we're off to a good start. Earlier this summer, I moved cross-country to Utah County, Utah. And they have something here that I have never had to deal with ever before in my life. I guess I've just gotten lucky. And that's emissions testing. I got this truck inspected right after I bought it and before I did any upgrades to it. And right now, with the exhaust system changes that we've done, it still should pass no problem because all we've really done is change the mufflers. On a 2500 series truck, I guess it depends on the GVWR, you've got to do a tailpipe test. On an ugly truck, all it is one of the plug-in OBD2 tests, because that's a 1500, but on a 2500, it's got to be tailpipe tested, and they check for the hydrocarbons and the CO or whatever they check. So the exhaust system that I eventually build is kind of got to pass smog. And so here's the plan. I want to run long tube headers, a high flow cat, but hopefully a emissions legal high flow cat. I guess we'll find out when the time comes. Dual 3-inch exhaust all the way back to a pair of Spintech 9000 Pro Streets and into a single 4-inch tailpipe. I just kind of like how the single tailpipe looks. We'll find out if it passes or not, but let me know in the comments what you guys think about this system and how it sounds. If you're curious about the parts that I used, I always put the parts links down below in the description, so you can check that out if you want to buy one. But other than that, this pretty much wraps up this week's upload. I want to say thank you guys for watching. I do appreciate each and every one of you subscribers. And if you haven't already, help me out. Hit that little subscribe button and help us reach the goal of 30,000 subscribers by the end of 2020. I'll catch you guys on the next upload. My name's LT. Thank you for watching.